All right, welcome back to another Katasa Healing Talk. And today we continue our conversation about the ancient teachings that have been lost to the masses and are being brought back at this bridge time. And Kay is going to read the next couple of things on the list. But before we get to that, my name is Helmut. I am here with my dear friends Laura and, of course, Kay. Hi, guys. We're missing Laura Ketty, but she had a family thing, so she couldn't make it. And I also got a question before we get to the items, the next items on the list. And that is, where did this list come from? And before you answer that, let me finish off my housekeeping thing. If you're new to the channel, please like, subscribe, comment, share. If you have questions, put them in the comments. We'll get to them, like to this one now. And let's dive into it. Okay.
All right. Well, in the immediate time frame, the list is coming from my latest book, which is The Weavings, Dawn of a New World. And it is starts on page 5. There's a little debate which page it was starting on. Page 5, and there are little bullet points. And before that, these are the main teachings, the beginning teachings of what my teachers taught me, and with their request of someday this has to be passed on to the world. This is coming out to you. You know, I don't look like a native person. There's a little blood in there, but I grew up pretty white, and it was given to me in order to be able to translate the experiences and the information coming from the teachers, my experiences, the ceremonies and the teachings, and put it in a way that people that I came from and grew up in, this is the modern world, like most of us are, to put it in ways that make sense to us, the way we talk, the way we think, the way we are living. And so that's what I have been doing. As soon as they gave me permission to do that, as we were parting ways and they were actually leaving. So as I was starting to write the book, I felt the need to kind of make a list, make an outline of something like that, of these different teachings that are so basic and so important to this way of thinking and living and feeling. And that's why I say over and over and over through the book, it's not a religion, it's not a dogma. This is the way these people lived, this way they thought, they feel things, their beingness through the day, how they live their lives through the day. And it was both in the pre-flood Egyptian and pre-flood Peruvian that these teachings are remarkably similar. When you take off the dressings of, like the Egyptians, everything is dressed up in netters and all these symbols, hieroglyphics everywhere, and all these stories that go with these symbols and the hieroglyphics, and but the netters, that's what they call their deities, is netters. And at first that seemed really really different, really alien, really just sort of scattered everywhere. But the more I dug into it, the more I realized they were actually saying the same thing. The experiences are the same. The ceremonies have the same results. And so that's where this list comes from. This is certainly by no means a complete list. The list just keeps going on and on and on and on. But these are the most basic, the most fundamental things that we have lost in our modern culture. And losing these things in our modern culture has caused everything that is in our lives to be corrupt. And I do mean everything. We can see it around us now, everything's kind of falling apart. The politics are corrupt, they're falling apart. The money system is corrupt, it's falling apart. All these different dynamics, institutions, everything is falling apart because of this corruption. And they refer to that as the backwards turning wheel, upside down and backwards turning wheel culture. And this is what we do to our attention. Now, that brings me to today's subject, which is the bullet number 2, and maybe, no, bullet number 3, and maybe number 4. And I'll read those to you. Number 3, this is to experience. These are things we need to bring back. We need to bring back the experience of the full range of your attention. Try to feel that. These things are all feeling things. They're not just thinking. If you try to think these things that are in these teachings in the book, it'll just go crazy. It'll just go on a gerbil wheel in your mind, and you won't get anywhere, and you'll never understand it. You have to feel it, and you have to experience it. So this is to experience the full range of your attention, understanding that it encompasses all of your feelings, both physical and spiritual, and all of your emotions. And lastly, your mind. Your attention is not just your mind alone or your thoughts. Your attention is everything about you. Everything about you. And the ancients talk about we have many, many, many more senses besides the physical senses. And we have so many more things to feel and perceive and experience besides what our linear mind is capable of thinking about. Your linear mind can only go just so far. And so that's why they're always talking about your attention and your perception, your awareness, and how full, how complete and full it needs to be. And we need to understand the sacred power of our attention and use that appropriately and wisely. When we can manage to get our attention together and just kind of scrape it back from all the places that we have managed to throw it away in, which we're doing all the time, constantly. We've learned how to scatter our attention to the winds. In these teachings, we learn how to bring our attention back to ourselves, back to our heart, our center, our song. Our song is our attention. And our attention is our song, our wholeness. So in the modern lives, and I say that about modern culture, modern lives. I'm not talking about just the last 100 years. I'm talking about the last 10,000 years. For most of the people that have been our ancestors, for the cultures that are involved um, in the current modern culture, if we follow that history way, way, way back, that corruption started way back then, and before the flood, the corruption was being felt and growing way before the flood. That corruption and hate, the fear, the violence, the greed for wealth and for control, it was getting bigger and bigger in the populations that were around at that time before the flood. And most of us know those cultures by the names Atlantis, the Athenians, and the Lemurians. And they went to war. And it covered a period of time where they were deep in the war, and then they weren't, and then they were deep in the war, and they weren't. And they ended up destroying themselves. They blew themselves up. They made their own lands sink. They had weapons of mass destruction, and they used them. So these people in this last era didn't learn the things they needed to learn about corruption and the hatred and the fear and the negative emotions. They didn't learn the things about love and peace and beauty and all the things that we can do to promote that love and peace and beauty and harmony and connectedness and beautiful relationships. There have always been people on the planet who have kept those teachings alive, kept remembering them, kept living them. Finally, after the flood, they had to go into secret. And in Egypt, the people who really understood those teachings in the temples left the temples because they were becoming corrupt. Very, very negative, very greedy. No matter what money system you have, especially in those years, it's corruptible, and it gets corrupt, and it gets more and more corrupt. And when you corrupt that level of a society, you corrupt their thinking and their beliefs. And when you have that kind of control over people, and you want to be the ones controlling and keeping control, you end up lying, making lies out of everything. And that's what we live with. And we've just seen it kind of go on a scale, up and down through history, of a little less corrupt, a whole bunch more corrupt, a little less, and this war and that war and that war and that war. And now we have the chance to not be like that, not do that, not have all that greed and all the wars and all the lies and the secrets and such destructive control over people, taking away all of their freedoms and forcing people to live in ways that they don't want to live, and without beauty around them and harmony and love and peace. It's always chaos and danger. And we see that in our lives now. And with the teachings, with one's attention, our attention has been corrupted. Our belief system has been corrupted. We've been lied to about pretty much every single subject that comes up and that could come up. We've been lied to. And we're told, oh, that's real. That's the truth. That's the truth. That's the truth. That's even our science, our medicine, our organized religions, the dogma in those organized religions, the government and politics, money system. Ah, man, there's so much corruption. You could call it evil. And what it does is it ends up seeping into our daily lives. It can't help it. And we have to learn how to think in these corrupt ways in order to dance around all the control and the nasty things happening and the surprises, the chaos that goes on. And we learn how to live in secrecy and lies. And it used to be that kind of deep secrecy and lies were unthinkable. It was just people just didn't lie. If you have a culture that is based on love and peace and harmony and beauty and song, based on their song and everybody else's song and the songs of the universe and our connectedness, which is so, so, so beautiful. It's so full of love and peace and beauty and knowledge, real knowledge, not lies, real knowledge. And we used to live with that as our mainframe. That was the base, that was the mainframe. All this connectedness to each other as humans, to each other as humans, to the animals and the plants and the land and the soil. And we knew the aliveness of everything. We felt it. We felt it, and we could telepathically understand what the soil needed and what the plants needed and when they need water and when what was happening with the animals. And you get the understanding of this from everything around you and on multiple levels, not just an extreme telepathic communication. I don't know if we ever had that or not. Teachers never said. But we do have some. We've always had some. And some people are a little better than others with it. And you can learn how to use that sensory system in your spirit to be able to communicate more telepathically. It's a little easier to do with plants and animals and the soil than it is with humans, usually, because especially for us, in our culture now, the way people are thinking and they're raised and everything now, they're so suspicious. They're shut off. They're closed off. They're shut off. They work on their own belief system and try to make sense of the world, and they don't want anything to upset that apple cart because it's already too chaos and doesn't make any sense by itself anyway. Trying to add a few new things into the pot can scare people sometimes. But with these teachings, when they say experience the full range of your attention, understanding that it encompasses all of your feelings, both physical and spiritual, and all your emotions. And lastly, your mind, because your mind is very linear, it's very two-dimensional, and it can't really understand things like the feelings. It can categorize them and store them and remember things about them, but your mind doesn't really feel anything. And in these teachings, we learn that the most important thing about being alive and being on the earth and having all the experiences that we do, having all these senses that we do, is because feeling is the real way to learn things and the real way to communicate. When alien races are being telepathic with each other, there's huge feeling packages full of pictures, sound, colors, movement, and huge feelings. And the feelings are changing, and it's all changing like a movie. So when they're sending you a thought, they're sending you this movie full of feelings. And the people that I talked with weren't using any words at the time they were doing this kind of communication. It was all feelings, and this whole package of experience and understanding is just shared back and forth. And that's where we need to start heading. That's the who and what we are. We really are. We should be a little farther along in that road than we have been, but we've been kept back by these corruption and the greed and the powers that be. But we'll catch up, and probably catch up very fast. So all the way through the book, all the way through the teachings, all the classes, the things that they taught me, the things that I teach others, and now some of my students are teaching others. I'm real excited about that. So it's spreading outward. These are teachings that are so completely based on one's personal experience. And we can't help but to collect beliefs. I mean, as humans, we're kind of set up to do that, although the way we are right now, humans are set up to collect huge numbers of beliefs about everything and make them a religious dogma inside of ourselves that is so charged with electricity and with emotions, that we're quite sure that they are the absolute truth. And we grow up realizing, or not realizing, feeling that those are absolute truth until we someday later realize that's not true. Maybe we learn through scientific experiments or through hearing different stories by different people about the same idea, experience, event, and hear so many different sides and perspectives. We realize this there has to be a thread through all of this that is consistent and real and true for everybody. And in the culture we have now, the way we were raised to believe this stuff is dogma, and we're raised with threats that if we go off the dogma, something really, really, really bad is going to happen to us and probably everybody around us. So we have to stick to the dogma, to the letter. And most of us do until we have some reason to think that maybe that's not the way things really are. But when you get this dogma out of the way, you no longer have it in your mind. It's not controlling your thoughts. It's not making you have thought babble, and it's not making you have fear and constant anger and worrying and fretting about all these different things. And you go over and over and over and over this stuff in your mind, or repeat, repeat, repeat. And we do that our whole lives. Unless we get all this garbage, these corrupt beliefs and their dogma out of our system, we step out away from it. We let it go. We leave it be. Never go back to it. It's like shedding a skin. You're stepping out of the old box. And then we can perceive things a lot more clearly. There's nothing to get in the way. When we have the bad beliefs, they're doctoring everything we see. They're governing what we see, like tunnel vision, what we think, what we feel about it, what kind of emotion we're going to have. We just have so many of these beliefs that end up making so many of our decisions for us. And that's what the teachings are all about. Wake up, wake up. You're not that imprisoned. You're not that dumb, and you don't have to stay that way. And all you have to do is turn your attention to look at yourself and see what your beliefs are, and question them. Is that really real? Nope. Is that really real? Oh God, no. Throw it away. Be gone with them all. When you've managed to do that, and it doesn't have to take long. And if you're honest with yourself, and you're honest, looking at the world and yourself honestly, really, truly, honestly, you can see the lies in everything, all over the place. They're just so blatant. They're everywhere. And when you do that, you just get them out of your life and start looking for the truth and the love and the peace and the beauty, and build your life out of that. Make that your life inside yourself and outside yourself. This is the power of attention. This is the strongest superpower that we have. Our attention. When it's clean, clear, free. We have self-sovereignty. We have the ability to think new kinds of thoughts and be able to feel things. The spirits say, the old teachings say, we have many, many, many senses, not just the 5 physical senses and our emotions, but we have many spiritual senses. And as we clean that whole field inside of ourselves, our attention, we have clean perception. It brings a power that is unimaginable. We as individuals have extraordinary power, the power of our attention. And in these teachings, that's what we work for, the power of our attention. Because that means it's the power of your own song, and it's not inhibited anymore. It's not being buried. It's not being told lie upon lie upon lie. And when we get together, if we, like kind, gets together and we're all free of the old beliefs and free of those thoughts that they always provided us with, and the fear and the worry and the anger and the hatred and the war, the violence, and this whole way of thinking. We learned a whole way of thinking that incorporates all of that. And it all just leaves. It all, when you question everything and you drop those beliefs willingly, all of that stuff leaves. And when we get together and do that, we've made a new world. There's nothing can stop human attention, the power of pure love, beauty, peace, harmony. And our attention based in that and filled with that fills our whole day and all the activities that we do, whatever kind of job we're supposed to be doing, taking care of. It's coming from this love and this beauty and the peace and the happiness and the joy, the freedom, every kind of freedom you could think of. And that's what those two entries on the bullet list are about.
Beautiful, Cake. Thank you.
Always so welcome. It is such an honor and a joy and a pleasure to share all of this with whoever wants to listen.
One thought I had as you were talking about the corruption and how it permeated from wherever it started to everybody, to all our lives, all our thinking and the way we live in our lives, the way we live our lives. It takes something like these ancient teachings, and I'm not saying this is the only one, but it takes something like these ancient teachings that are things that are isolated and insulated from the corruption to help us get out of it, doesn't it?
Yeah. It takes our choice. We have to choose to do this. And you have to choose from 1 minute to the next, sort of like an AA meeting. You have to choose from one moment to the next. I'm not going to take a drink. I'm not going to do the drugs. Okay, let's go to the next hour, this next moment. And you have to keep reminding yourself, and you're thinking of it, and before you really realize it, you don't even want those things anymore. But with with the AA and the drugs, the alcohol and drugs are a substance. There's something that you are consuming that is overtaking your body, your attention. You become very addicted to it. And we are just as addicted, or probably even more so, way more so. All the rest of us, we're addicted to these blind beliefs and all that mental chatter and all the fear and the anxiety and the worry, the hatred, the suspicion of others, all the negative thinking. We're addicted to it. And if you just look at yourself, look inside, watch yourself babble. There's a lot of meditation techniques where they sit in a very quiet place and they tell you, you just sit quietly, close your eyes, try to think of nothing. Just empty your mind, breathe deep, try to feel peaceful, don't think of anything. And as soon as they're trying this, is babble, 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 babble. And if you watch and listen to that long enough and often enough, you'll realize they're saying the same thing. There's just it's a broken record. It's going over and over and over and over and over. And they're rehashing, this little thing and this little thing, and it's all about the same stuff. And they're saying the same thing about the same stuff. And they don't let themselves stop. They don't let themselves stop long enough to think about it, to examine it, to try to question it or anything else. And they're addicted to that. They're addicted to the feelings that all that babble brings up. And I know that sounds a little weird. They're addicted to the fear, they're addicted to the anger, they're addicted to the hatred, they're addicted to the war, they're addicted to the the corruption, and the lies, and uh, people, when they hear that, they think, "Oh, well, I'm not that way. I'm not addicted to those things. I don't like those things." Well, they are. They are addicted. So were their parents, their grandparents, and their ancestors all the way back, who knows, could be before the flood. Could be that long ago. And we don't have that much information about the who, when, and where, and what before the flood. There's a little bits, and we can, if we knew honestly how to look at the the ancient ruins, all this archaeological stuff that is left behind through the ages, we'd be able to see that there's a whole lot of that stuff that happened before the big flood, before 12,000 years ago. And how much longer behind that, back then, maybe we'll develop methods to tell. But these this corruption, this way of lying and thinking and hating and stealing, uh, it's been around for a really long time. Exactly where it came from, who it came from, right now we don't really know. My teachers didn't point to anything really specifically. They talk about the seeds of it. We we were given the seeds of it. It's spread through our culture, through our human culture. So it's learned behavior. All this way of thinking with all these blind beliefs and being addicted to them, and all the things that they make you think and feel, and the corruption of it all. That's we were seeded to learn that. It's all learned behavior. And we seed the next generation and the next generation. And we've been doing that for who knows how many generations, 12,000 years worth of generations at least. We choose to step out of it. Everyone has this power and has this choice to decide to choose to step out of it, question everything, throw it away, and make a new world. Be free. A lot of people are talking about being free these days. And oh, this country's going to hell. Nobody's free about anything. Well, that's really true. And it's a lot more true than they know, because that freedom goes all the way into the deepest parts of their mind and their beingness, because that is corrupted and controlled by the same forces that control the corruption out there in the government and the rest of the world, and all the greed, hate, wars, everything. We could step out of it and decide not to look at that anymore, not to be that way anymore, not to respond that way anymore. It's a choice. And that's part of our power. That's part of that power of our attention. That's our superpower. As soon as enough humans decide to engage their superpower and their attention and free themselves, get rid of all these blind beliefs that they have inside them, and live from love, so they could perceive the love, they give the love, they feel the love, they're giving it back and forth. All the powers that be currently, that like to call themselves elite, but are really just a little group of parasites, they're doomed. They have no real power at all. They have the power we gave them. We gave away our power when we decided to live this way, to fall asleep. When the culture decided to fall asleep, we gave away our power to them. And there are only a few of them, and there's 8 billion of us with the power of real attention and real love and real freedom. And nothing is going to stop that. Nothing's going to stop that.
Yeah. Laura.
I've got a little helper that wants to join in too. Sorry about that.
Hi, Kitty.
She has so much to contribute.
Yeah, she does. I'm going to say it's just wonderful teaching today. Okay. I was in that box. I was addicted to it all. And thank goodness for the teachings, because it does. It brings power to be able to focus your attention on what you really desire, and not, it's almost like, you guys have put it as like you're in a box or in the back of the Volkswagen bus and letting those other things, sorry, my son's going to the dentist's office today and they're getting ready to go. um, it's you don't realize how much your world is being so dictated by blind beliefs and your masks. You just don't realize it until you start to learn the skills to choose and choose song. And I love that part in the book about it, to know your sacred feeling of your song. And I once I started to learn my song, I realized it's here. It's always been here, but my attention was never on it. And once you start to feel your own song, you start to feel the songs of everybody else and that connectedness. But you don't really know it. But that's where your power is when you start to have that awareness and start to make choices as to whether those things are going to dictate your experience, because you're choosing your perspective. And I love that part about how sacred our song is, because we're not really taught that. We're not, even the word sacred. How many sacred things do we have in our lives? And they honor and respect and cherish our song. And when you honor and cherish and respect your song, and then you feel that connectedness of everybody else, well, then you start to honor and cherish and respect everybody else, because you start to feel that connection. And what an amazing tool, and to bring your power back is your attention. Like, wow. I can't really add more to it other than there's no secret little pill that you can give us. You have to do the work. You have to question things. You have to make those choices and find out where you're being led, and poke holes in that box that you're living in. Sometimes I put it as it's like I've been in this movie theater and I have totally gone into the story. I am there. I'm believing it all, right? And then the story's already done, and I'm still running it over and over and over in my mind. And well, that's what giving your power away is. You're not seeing what's really there. Well, step out of the movie theater. Step out and take a look at what's really there. But you don't really know until you start questioning things. Yeah. Thank you so much for these teachings, and thank you for that I could be a part of it as well. I feel so grateful. And that is another thing, the song. When you get to know your song, you just live it with so much more gratitude. And that's an energy in itself. Thank you.
Beautiful. Beautifully said.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we're certainly glad you're here.
I'm grateful. Totally has changed my life from being a victim and happy and not having any power. I mean, just being led. I mean, it's just imagine somebody just leading you everywhere, and then you reacting to all of that. You're believing it all, and you have more power. I have more power than I ever knew, and I'm so grateful for it. Because I mean, when you're being led around, you're unhappy. It's just led by fear. Yeah, I would say that's the dominant emotion and the dominant thing that's driving, is that fear. And then once you know your song and you start connect with that, you can let go of that fear. It's not, you understand it. You understand where it came from, that corruption. But until you can get to that point, you're just stuck in this. It's like a gerbil wheel, just going around in circles and circles and circles. You're not going to experience anything different until you start clearing out those thought forms that you continue to just. But it takes work. There's no magic pill. You got to show up and do the work.
True.
And that's what I do. I just keep showing up. I'm
And we're glad.
me too. Yeah, I got a taste of the teachings, and I understood it. There's a part of me that experienced the teachings, how you've been laying them out, and I get it. And I remember at first I was like, "Oh, yeah, I really get it." No, no, you really don't get it. I got a taste of it. But just so much more. Every single day. I doubt if in this whole lifetime that I'll get it all. I won't. I just
Yeah.
won't because it's so much. It's so vast and so amazing. And keep showing up.
That's it. That's what it takes.
We have so many fears. The list of what we're afraid of just goes on and on and on and on and on. And I think one of the leading things on most people's list is they are afraid that they will not be accepted or loved or appreciated by others. Any others. Could be their mate, their kids, their parents, their siblings, could be the neighbors, it could be their best friends, it could be people at work, people that you pass you don't even know, you just pass them by in the grocery store. And we've been trained to learn this heavy addiction to this desire, this it's a grabbing need for this acceptance, to be okay in their eyes, to and if it could be more, if you could actually be admired or cared for, loved, that almost seems impossible. But we'll do almost anything when we're addicted to that fear. We will kowtow to anybody's wishes, and people do all over the planet. We see it everywhere. We were trained to be that way, and we can just take an honest look at that and step out of it. We're connected to everybody and everything, and we don't need their false approval because they're asleep too. They're wandering around in their pajamas essentially. And to get what looks like their approval, it may be real approval, it may not be, probably isn't. We need to realize that. We need to see it for what it is. And that one fear alone frees you up to so many things in life and so much of your awareness and your perception.
I think that aliveness that you start to feel all around. Because it's kind of closed off. You don't really feel that connection and that aliveness. And you just want to experience it more, the more you know your song. And experience it from everybody else too. It it just it's an experience that other people you have to dive in and learn about it, because when you start to feel that aliveness and that desire to connect and experience, you don't even realize it was missing until you feel that connection and you feel the song in your heart, and that it was already there. That's the thing that baffled me the most. Like, wow, this has always been here. And because my attention was so scattered, I wasn't aware of it. Yeah. I just, that's what I want for everybody, to feel their own aliveness, to feel that and want to express it and experience it more. It's so beautiful. I'm in love with it now. I'm in love with myself. I'm in love with my song, and I want everybody else to be able to feel that too. But there's no magic pill. You just got to get in and do it. Do the work.
Nice place to close. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let us know what you think about all this in the comments. For those who joined us live, thank you so much for being here. It's so great to see you in there. And let us know what you think about all these things that we talked about, and the need to step about the corrupted system and thought form and ways of life, and the need for us all to step out of it if we want to build a different world. Thank you. Like, comment, subscribe, share. It helps a lot. You all good, ladies?
Mm.
Thank you so much. Love you.
Thank you all.
Love you all.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Helmut, and all you people out there. Love you. See you next time.